we've now got the ability to navigate over to our component screen. So now we're going to add the same thing into our touchable opacity. The code we're going to write for this is going to be just about identical to what we added into button. So I'll find the onPress callback right here. Remember, this is a function that gets ran anytime a user taps on any element inside of touchable opacity. I'll then remove that console log, and I'll replace it with props.navigation.navigate, and then as a string, we'll put the name of the route that we want to show. So the list screen has a route name of list with a capital L. So back over here, we'll call navigate and put in list with a capital L as well. Okay, so we'll save this, test it out really quickly. I can now tap on Go to List Demo and see our list screen appear. Perfect. I can go back to my home screen, and I can now navigate between all three of these different screens very easily. And just to show it on Android as well, yep, works over here too. Okay, so this looks great. Now the last thing I want to do, even though I wanted to show you both the button element and the touchable opacity, for our home screen, it's kind of strange to have two very different types or stylings of buttons appear. So the last thing I want to do is refactor this touchable opacity into a button as well. Remember, in general, the button element is a little bit less powerful and has way fewer configuration options available to it. But for this particular case, well, we really just plain want to show a button for the list demo link, I think. So I'm going to add in a second button element here. I'll give it a title of Go to List Demo, and then I'll add in a onPress prop. Remember, we're going to give that thing a arrow function like so, and then inside there we can call props.navigation.navigate, and we want to navigate to list. And now we can clean up our touchable opacity. So I'm going to delete that entirely. All right, so now we should be able to save this, flip back over, and yep, there we go. We've got both of them, and they look pretty reasonable. Now on iOS, there's a very clear separation there, but on Android, those two buttons are right next to each other. So we'll eventually come back and add in a little bit of styling to this home screen, but for right now, we just need to be a little bit careful about which button we actually press. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now, the last thing I want to mention here is that inside of our onPress functions, we have some very similar looking calls. In both cases, we have props.navigation.navigate, and same thing down here as well. So if we want to, we could use a little feature out of ES 2015 JavaScript to slightly condense the code we've written here. Notice how we don't have any other reference to this props argument inside of our function. The only thing we are receiving this props argument for is to refer to that navigation property. So if we wanted to, we could refactor this by deleting props right there, putting in a set of parentheses, and then a set of curly braces inside there. We can then write out the word navigation. So this is referred to as destructuring, and we're essentially pulling off just the navigation property from that props object. We no longer have access to the props object inside of here. Instead, we have access only to the navigation one. So that means we can shorten up both props.navigation right here to be just navigation.navigate. And we can do the same thing for the second one as well, just navigation.navigate. So that just saves us having to write out that word props a ton of times inside of this component. We're going to use this pattern quite a bit throughout the course because very, very seldom do we ever want to receive the entire props object. Usually we just want to pull like one or two properties off of it. Okay, so I'll save this again just to make sure everything works. And yep, still looks good. Okay, so this is fantastic. Let's take a quick pause right here and move on to the next topic in the next video.